Thanks for staying tuned. Of course, this is still Rise and Shine this Wednesday morning, and we're about to look into another conversation. We have joining us this morning Akwa, of course, who is programs manager at GIFA, and of course, we'll be getting into who exactly GIFA is. And we also have Pastor Anne Abraham, coordinator of GIFA. Good morning to you, ladies, and thanks for joining us this morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, I would take it that that's Pastor Anne Abraham.
Yes.
Morning. Yeah, and that's Ekemini Akwa.
Good morning.
All right, of course. We're looking at family welfare, advocacy, inclusivity, and the Akwa Ibom people. Like I had said earlier, every administration comes with the first lady of the state, and each one of them tries to be engineering in their own way. Now, Pastor Patience Moino is the governor. Is the wife of the governor of Akwa Ibom State, and she birthed the GIFA initiative. So I would start by asking, what exactly is GIFA and what is GIFA all about? Let's start with the coordinator.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Once again, my name is Dr. Anne Abraham, the coordinator of GIFA. The full meaning of GIFA is Golden Initiative for All. Golden Initiative for All.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a brainchild of the First Lady of Akwa Ibom State, Pastor Mrs. Patience Umoino, coming on board to tell the Akwa Ibom people that she's ready for everyone. You know, in most times, pet projects, in quote, will come with a specific description, but in her own administration, she felt it should be everything all-inclusive for everyone, both the male, the female, the youth, and the children. Now, so that is what GIFA is all about. In our slogans, we said, Golden Initiative for All, enhancing family lives. That's what GIFA is all about.
So, what I said, baseline is the fact that she wants to pay attention to family. And like you said, I know that the previous administration of Martha, the doctor, she paid attention to the girl child and women, you know. So, but now she wants to holistically look at the family where everybody is concerned. So you are about 2 or 3 months old.
2 months.
2 months old, yes. About 2 months
GIFA was launched on the 20th of February.
Which happened to be the first lady's
birthday.
Okay.
Yes. And so we swung into action immediately. Even before the launching of the program, the project, she's been going around doing the same initiative. But launching it officially came on the 20th of February. And then under the PET project of the First Lady, we have 8 thematic areas that she has decided to focus on. Now, one of it is the maternal and child health care. The second one is education, literacy, and learning. We have fight against the diseases. We have care for the elderly, and we have care for the people living with disability and gender-based violence. So you see that the 8 thematic areas is actually a focus area, and it's all about families.
Okay.
You mentioned the 8 focal areas.
Yes.
And like you said, the past wife of the past governor, she focused on the girl child. So don't you think this 8 focal area, you are the program coordinator?
Oh no.
Program yes, I'm talking to her. Okay. The program manager.
Yes.
This 8 focal areas, don't you think it's too much? It encompasses a lot. And how have you been able to handle it in the past 2 months and going forward?
Yes, that's an interesting perspective, saying that it's too much. However, the essence of having it is so that, like you said, it's all encompassing. We do not want to miss out anyone. We have something for the children, the elderly, the mother, the father. Like she already mentioned, she has already spoken about 5 of the thematic areas. She talked about maternal and child health care. She spoke about learning and literacy. We also have women's empowerment, which is a niche for just women. And in the past 2 months, you know, on the day of the launch, Her Excellency rolled out her calendar. And if you followed, we've already had International Women's Day, of course, working with the Ministry of Women Affairs. We also had the the World Water Day, which was on March 22nd, and we went to some local governments and we had like focus group discussions just talking about poor access to water supply. So we've made tremendous effort already just to make sure that we're working in line with what she has to do based on her calendar.
So one of the key things that I have seen being introduced here is the care for the elderly. It doesn't seem to be, it's not something that has always had the attention of a lot of persons. And we've even seen the state government himself try to go into some of these rural areas and build houses. So care for the elderly. I won't ask why, because it's a necessity. But in being able to do so, what is the main picture in taking care of the elderly? Because also we live in a climate that, if I take our minds back to the Godswill Akpabio administration as governor, it was during his time that he tried to disabuse our minds from seeing the elderly as witches. So how are you even going to get hands to be able to take care of the elderly under GIFA?
Okay, so under GIFA, care for the elderly is something that, like you mentioned, the governor had already started, and rolling out our blueprints, we continue to ride on what he's already doing. The main concern for us, as you already know, is healthy aging for elderly people. Right, and we have like a lot of things aside from the disbursement, the safety nets, giving them an allowance every month. We bring them together.
How much is the allowance?
50,000 naira. Okay. So in addition to doing that, we also are taking care of their health. So we're bringing, the primary health care to them and bringing them together to make sure they access it, those things that are, concerning their vitals. And then in addition to that, we're also thinking about stimulating their brains and just making sure that it's not, they are not because they are old and everything. Yes. So it's more of something that is also a stimulant for them.
So when we say the elderly, what's the age bracket? From what age are we calling these persons the elderly?
From 65.
From 65 upwards.
Yes.
What is the strategy? So let me ask the coordinator now. What's the strategy of GIFA to be able to establish the elderly across the 31 local government areas of the state? Are we sure that we are not overlooking some centers, some persons just for a select few? How are we going to make sure that there are more people benefiting from this initiative of GIFA and the wife of the governor than those not benefiting from it?
Now, what we are doing under the aspect of the elderly is across the 31 local government, we allow the local government chairman, the village heads, to give us the data of all the elderly, because all the villagers know who is of a certain age in his village. So we'll get that, and then we get an app that once your name has been sent to our office, by next month, because it's a monthly program, every month from the one of the governor is 500 elderly every month. Now, so your name cannot repeat a second time.
Okay.
And since the local government chairman...
And it's 50,000 on both sides, both
yes,
GIFA and that of the governor.
Oh, no. The 50,000 is the governor's own.
Okay, how much is GIFA giving?
No, the GIFA has not yet, set up the one for the elderly. But we've done the one for the multiple birth mothers. That's the first one we've done, and that one also is 50,000 for a mother with twin and 100,000 with a mother with triplets.
Okay.
Now, so in our next program, we take up the elderly, but the present elderly initiative is the one that the governor is actually handling. That one is 50,000 per elder.
So I'm going to go to item number 4 because that's where my priority lies: women empowerment, or getting the girl child to be independent. I don't know if that story has been brought up, but I was literally weeping, and the social media Akwa is weeping over an incident of a young woman that was beaten blue black by her husband, even while carrying his baby. And that goes back to conversations of women not having financial, independence, because she'll be thinking of, when I leave, what am I going to survive and how am I going to survive? So what is the plan for women empowerment as far as GIFA is concerned?
Okay, so do you want me to answer that? Okay, so yes, as you can see, yes. So as you can see, we've dedicated a whole thematic area to that, which is to show that that is a priority. And we have initiatives under that, just to focus on the different issues like you brought about. Aside from the fact that we already have gender-based violence as a thematic area on its own, just so that we can make sure that we're tackling it, squarely. We have, because you mentioned financial literacy, we have a specific initiative that is for financial empowerment. The reason, and one of the things we're focused on is giving women access to markets, because most women, especially in Akwa Ibom State, we're in informal employment, we're working in informal markets. So we want to be able to take your goods, away from that. And to do that, it's not just saying, oh, let's take your goods to the market. We're looking at your business holistically and looking for ways to build the capacity of your business so that when you're there on the showcase, it would match with, of course, like it's a global supply chain now, as you already know. Yeah, so we're doing a lot on women's empowerment just to make sure that everything is holistic.
No, still on women empowerment, let me come to the manager. Still on women empowerment now.
Okay.
During the previous administration, there was a whole lot of conversation by Dr. Martha Odomimando to bring in women into politics, bringing women into leadership, and we had a serious issue because in some local government we couldn't find women who were ready and prepared to take on those responsibilities. So it was a matter of opportunities, yeah, but we do not have competent women. So is there a plan by GIFA to also, while you're building the capacity, the informal sector, you're also building women's stamina mentally and otherwise to take on leadership, positions?
Oh yes, I think it's one of the major concern about the women in leadership. I agree with you. In the last administration, honestly, for over years, that has been the administration that brought women into politics. I can say that for the first time in Akwa Ibom, for you to have vice chairman 19, the councillors were about almost 90 something female. Now you realize that that was basically Dr. Mata's effort, push to bring women to that position. And when in a continuation,
Yes.
this administration is a continuity. Now, Her Excellence, Pastor Mrs. Patience Umoino, has already put on blueprint. If the previous administration had 19 vice chairmen, thank God for His Excellency, Pastor Umoino, said he's pushing us for 40%. Now you can know what we're expecting in the next positions that is coming up. Now, one of the things Her Excellency is doing is she's putting up a training, picking up the women in different local governments who are due for a particular position. There's always been this male opposition that we don't want women there. Women don't supposed to be chairman. You can't bring up a woman to be a chairman of a local government. But thank God for Pastor Mrs. Patience Umoino. If you listen to one of our speech when she went to commission a skill acquisition center in Obodokara, she commended that women are doing distinctively well. All the women, if you watch the women in the local government that are chairmen today, are the one doing programs, projects, and she's commissioning them. So that's one of the things that drew her passion to it, that she needs to make sure that more women will come on power. That will help her push GIFA to the next level. Because when you have women on power, you will see, give a woman a house, she will give you a home. Now, so that's exactly what she's doing. She's going to put up some programs. She has already started it. She's trying to bring up the stakeholders to the table. Who are the women? There are some women in the grassroots that are very good, and then nobody wants to recommend them. And so one of the things she's doing is she's going into the grassroots to pick this talent and see how she can place them on the place of authority.
So that would bring my Sandra. That would bring my attention to the fact that in spaces like this, we always see issues of favoritism. You are the coordinator of GIFA, you are the programs manager, you have women that you know, and every other person who is in a leadership position. We find out that we circulate it amongst our family members, and the real people who this initiative has been established for eventually don't get to be benefactors. How are we planning to make sure that this actually gets to those that it was originally designed for?
Okay,
Yes.
let me address that because like you said, it's not a favoritism thing. For us, change is very systematic. So we have mechanisms put in place because we want it to trickle down to the grassroots. So we're working with the stakeholders, of course, and just making sure that everybody is captured. Like I said, we went to Isnobolo on World Water Day, right? And we were speaking to people at the grassroots level and talking to them about bringing, water to their community and learning from them, gaining insights from them.
Did GIFA also give them a borehole?
Yes, we're planning to do that.
Okay.
So we have to go to those places and learn what is the issue, why don't they have water and all of that. So what I'm saying is that it's not a top-down approach. It is us going into the communities and making sure that the problems we're solving are very useful to you. I mean, when we went to Isanabolo, we learned that fishing is more of their trade. So if we're talking about women's empowerment, we need to remember that. So those are the things that we're doing just to make sure that, so it's like very systematic. There's a mechanism in place. It's not like we're just like creating solutions from our head. We're just making sure that it is something relevant to you. And then we're coming to you to say, is this something that fits, yeah.
Okay, let me stick with you, programs managers. Still talking about project. I think last week or 2 weeks back, I got a call about the governor's wife planning to have, is it one project per local government when it has to do with the women? So I'd like to clarify that first off. And then secondly, I'd love to also find out, in your conversation with the people, do you have, pointers or people that you can hold accountable in these respective local government areas that would help supervise this project? Because oftentimes we see government coming out with very great ideas, but when it gets to the implementation stage, it becomes a big problem.
Yes, I like that you're asking that question. So for the first one about having one project per local government for women, like I said, we're designing things relevant to the local government, but you don't expect us to speak about that yet.
Okay. It's all right.
You don't expect us to speak about that yet. However, when it comes to making sure that the projects are sustainable, we're trying to make sure that there's a sense of ownership at the community level. So we're not doing things and then it's getting abandoned. So we're working with, as it is now, we started working with representatives from those places. It's apolitical. They are not politicians, yes, just to make sure that they're helping us to connect with the people at the community level, and then also helping them to have that sense of ownership. So we're all working together so that it's not in isolation, just to make sure that what we're doing is not getting abandoned.
Okay, so just before Sandra comes, I want to link something there because I was also going to ask, with GIFA, is it opening up opportunities for employment for the youth? So these persons that you're using as connectors in all of these communities, are they being paid by GIFA, some form of stipends or salaries or anything? What's it like? Because it's expected. We would think that, Akwa Ibom has quite a percentage of unemployment rate, something that the governor is trying to work on. If we have GIFA having projects across 31 local governments, you would need foot soldiers. With this, is it affecting employment ratio? Is it also providing some form of source of living for youth in the state?
Okay, so working...
Let me coordinate it.
Yes, I think you should take on
I
that.
think in that aspect, the local government reps we are picking will actually benefit from it, because there's no way you will engage a person without having something to pay back to the person. That's why, GIFA, we are going round to make sure we pick a rep from each of the local government, and it should be someone that is good at it, that will also see it as her own business. Like she said, take ownership of it, because we are all in it together. Now, it will create an employment. Definitely, it will create an employment, because GIFA itself, we are employing. We're employing youth. Right now in our office, we have youth that Excellency has employed. A lot of the program managers, as we have 8 thematic areas, we are going to employ 8 program officers. So each officer is entitled to work or concentrate on a particular thematic project. So definitely, GIFA will bring employment to the people of Akwa Ibom State.
Okay. Now this question is still for you, the coordinator. Now let's talk about enhancing literacy and learning. One the first program or the strategies on the list here says keep the students in school program, and this program provides higher learning scholarship for the deserving poor. And my question now is, where does this leave those in basic education? Is there a program for them also? Because if you're going to empower their mothers and keep them busy, what happens to the children?
Now, there's no way when you're talking about literacy and learning, I want to draw your mind. I think last 2 months ago, Her Excellency did a program for the children in the school, government primary schools, and there's no way she's going to empower the mother and then forget the children. Definitely, there's going to be a program for the children. The scholarship is going to come on board based on your performance. Of course, we know that. Right now, she's planning to send school supplies to the children. Now, so the more you bring the children to the point where they see that, oh, someone is caring. That's what we call her Ikaibere, the Akwa Ibom. So she's interested in both the children and the mother, and the mothers as well. So the literacy learning will bring the children to a point where scholarship will be given to them. School supplies items will be given to them based on what they need. Because like we did need assessment, you can't get to a school and you know that these other people, these ones, they have they are well-to-do. You know, there are some schools that you know that these ones you can't give, and there are some schools that you know that there are children that are basically coming from a poor background. And so she's interested in also raising those kind of children to the next level.
What of those who were not even able to make it to school in the first place?
Now, you see, one thing is for you to get a child to go to school. Another thing is for the child, because there's no child that wouldn't want to go to school, except there's no finances. And thank God for the primary school today that is free.
Free education.
It's free education. So definitely the children would get to school on free education. It's only when you get there and you're doing well, we'll pick you up for a scholarship. Now, so if you don't want to go to school, there's no way. When it gets to her, I remember a child in, I think that's in Surubim or so, that had a problem, and she insisted that they should take her to school. Get to school. If you don't like the school you're going, where do you want to? And funny enough, the child mentioned one school, and she said they should send her there.
So when we're also talking about schools coordinated, one of the problems that we have in terms of making these education worthy is the fact that most of the schools are not even in good conditions. Yes, it may not be something that GIFA can solve holistically, but I mean, we can use the office of GIFA to be like a bridge bender between these schools and the state government or all of these other agencies, because I personally go to several local governments in Akwa Ibom, and I can tell you for free, we do not have schools. Our children are sitting on the floor to learn, and that's not a conducive way. And so if we're investing in the women and our children, how is GIFA going to make sure that our children can get quality education?
I think in that aspect, I will still draw attention back to the need assessment we did, I think about 3 or 4 months ago in schools. I agree with you that there are some schools that are lacking in so many things. And based on our need assessment, the report has been said. And again, you see, the governor of the state is already picking interest in schools, renovating schools, putting things in place for school. So the GIFA will just be a watch, a support, going to get this need assessment and report back to Excellency. And from there, it will play back to the table. Okay, this school lacks this school lacks this. And then I believe God will help them to touch all those needs in the schools.
Okay, now let's go back. Conversations is the Women Month, the month of March, gender-based violence. Akwa Ibom State recently came under the heat when a learned, or a man who should be addressed as a learned colleague, displayed some unlearned attributes by abusing the wife and then it became a serious conversation. But that is just one of the many that is happening in homes that we do not get to hear about. Oftentimes, when we talk about gender abuses, men would say, "Oh, are you talking about just the women folks being abused? You're not looking at the men who are also abused." But let's come down to the narrative. Recently, we had the wife of the governor. I read in the interview of the magazine, your magazine, and then she mentioned some of the things that she intends to do and part of the problems of the engagement that she hopes to do for Akwa Ibom State. Now, the recent conversation the Akwa Ibom people have been calling for is, we know that gender abuses, violence is enshrined some way in our cultural practices. What is the plan to engage? And I'm asking you, program coordinator, doctor, what plan do we have to engage the family heads, the religious leaders, traditional leaders, the National Assembly, the State House of Assembly, rather, to ensure that, yes, we have the Violence Against Persons Law, but let's look into the implementation and collaboration with all these stakeholders so that we expunge it from our cultural norms. We expunge it from, I don't know if you've gone to a church where the pastor is preaching on a wedding day and the pastor is literally focusing on how the wife should be submissive to the husband without telling the husband you also need to love your wife. Now, when we have these kinds of preaching coming from the pulpit, it creates an imbalance that distorts the mind of the man and makes it feel like the woman is a slave. And so, as a man, you have every right.
I think I want to start from the last point where a pastor will be preaching the wife should be submissive and not telling the husband to love the wife. If there's something that is very difficult, is the love. Love. That's why God is saying men should love their wives. I wouldn't want to say I disagree with you, but I believe that 90% of ministers will want to teach the right thing. Women submit to your husbands, or wives submit to your husbands, and then husband loves your wives. But in a case where the reverse is the case, that the pastor is not saying the right thing, I wouldn't sit to judge. I leave that to God. But I want to say that violence is one practice that Pastor Mrs. Patience Umoino kick against daily. Violence in homes is one thing that men should come to a point that your wife has never been a slave and will never be. Definitely there will be disagreement in homes, but that should not lead you to, beating up your wife, disgracing her, and making her look, like a nobody. Now, she's so passionate. In fact, I remember when she said, any man, the issue of that learned man, when he got to her office, she was the first person she said the man should be arrested before any other thing. Now that shows that she's not taking it lightly for families of men that maltreat or display violence on their wives. She's going to work on it. She's planning to work on it in together with FIDA and every other people that are against violence.
Okay.
Now, so once you become a culprit, please find yourself in the prison. Just go and rest there.
Just go and submit
there.
Okay, so we're literally out of time, but they're like two sub issues. So I'll collapse the question into two, and I will ask one to the coordinator and one to the manager. So, programs manager, of course. Now we have a Kaiberedem hub, which is looking to facilitate strategic market linkages. The state governor has set up the bulk purchase agency, and I do not see how it's going to work away from the women of our community. So how does GIFA come in to say, okay, sir, we work with the women in all the local governments, see them here, they have what to sell. Let the bulk purchase agency come and do business with us. So how is GIFA liaising with some of the policies of the governor at this time to move our women forward? Coordinator
now. I want to thank His Excellency for the agency of the bulk purchasing agency. The Ekaibedem Hub, we are actually collaborating with the governor's agenda based on the purchasing, because the women in the local government, down the local government, in the marketplace, they are one of the reasons why the women empowerment from GIFA springed up. Now, so for us to collaborate with what His Excellency is doing right now, we've started the same need assessment, because it's not all the women in the market that we want to sell. There are some that are ready to buy just for their consumption, and there are some that are ready for business. Like what His Excellency said yesterday when he was flagging off the one in Uyo yesterday. He said, if you don't have a scale, then you're not ready for this business. Because you must have a scale. You don't need to use cup. You don't need to use a bowl, yes, to measure what you want to sell. Rather, we need you to have a scale. With scale, we'll be able to know. And there are ticketing. So we are collaborating with the Arise agenda. Of course, GIFA is a support link to the Arise agenda. That's exactly what we are doing. And then so we'll get to the women in the local government, the market women in the local government, and also, carry out each market. Of course, some local governments has different item methods.
Yes.
Like when we went to Eastern Obulu, they said they don't want anything on agriculture. They don't want to even farm. Whatever you're supposed to give to us in farming, replace it in fishing. That's what we want. Now, so when you're going into such a local government concerning the bulk purchase, their own approach will be different from a local government like Oruwanam. But that exactly.
So I think you've greatly answered that, and we're absolutely out of time. But we know that a set of people that GIFA is covering is those living with disabilities, and we need to have a conversation that covers them. What is GIFA's plan in like less than a minute?
Very simple. We are focused on employment. That's one of the things. Yes, we know that. So we're providing like a holistic approach, seeing how we can give them. So it's not just accessibility. While that is a part of it, access to public facilities, which the RAMs and all the items and all the things that enable their accessibility. On the other hand, their employment services for people living with disabilities.
Okay. So you're heightening employment for people living with disabilities.
Yes, and just making sure we provide services that enable them to have access to that employment in terms of entrepreneurship, right? Okay. Yes, and employment as well in terms of like getting a job. Yeah.
All right, great conversation. It's been with the Golden Initiative for All. Of course, a birth initiative of the wife of the governor of Akwa State, speaking about Pastor Patience Umoino. It's been such a holistic conversation this morning, looking at the 8 thematic areas where the governor's wife seeks to be impactful in her own administration. So this will be you extending our thank you to the wife of the governor. Of course, it's clear that Spectrum Television is liaising with GIFA and would love to be a part of the journey. It's quite a good education for Akwa Ibomites this morning. Thank you very much, the coordinator, Dr. Anne Abraham, for coming on the show this morning. And also thank you very much, the program's coordinator, Ekemini Akwa.
Thank you.
It's been a great conversation on Rise and Shine this Wednesday morning, and we are delighted that you could be a part of it. But this is where we need to draw the curtains until tomorrow when we return on the show. My name is Uyai Anekan.
And I am Francis United.
My name is Sandra Agus. Thank you so much for watching, and bye for now.
Bye for now.